Okay, let's dive into some serious local intrigue with meeting minutes from the Springfield City Commission.
We're talking about the nitty-gritty of how your city operates and how those decisions directly affect you.
You handed us two sets of meeting minutes, June 4th and June 18th. Now, I'll admit, before this deep dive, ordinances sounded about as exciting as watching paint dry. But bear with me, because these meetings were anything but boring.
You'd be surprised what you can learn from a few pages of meeting minutes. It's a glimpse into the heart of local government.
For example, did you know replacing just two medic units set the city back over $220,000? Makes you appreciate those sirens a little more, right? And get this, there was a whole debate about firefighter gloves.
This seemingly minor detail actually opens up a bigger discussion about resource allocation. Every dollar spent on gloves is a dollar that can't be used for something else, like park maintenance or road repairs.
You got it. It's like this giant game of budget Tetris, trying to fit in everything from fire station designs and police firearms to streetlight aesthetics and even yoga studios.
Speaking of which, did you catch that Femme Yogipreneur is expanding near Groceryland? Local businesses like that, even if they seem small, contribute to the city's economic ecosystem.
I mean, totally. It creates that something for everyone vibe. But while we're on the topic of money, those technology upgrades for city departments caught my eye. We're talking millions of dollars here.
Modernizing those systems is essential, but as the minutes reveal, it doesn't always go smoothly. Remember that hiccup with the building permit software?
Oh, tell me you haven't been there. Website glitches and inaccessible information, relatable frustration for sure. But you know what else struck me? The sheer variety of issues the City Commission deals with.
It's a testament to the scope of local government. One minute they're discussing multi-million-dollar contracts, and the next they're addressing a resident's concern about a traffic light.
It's like the world's most unpredictable variety show. And speaking of unexpected, can we talk about these emergency ordinances? In my world, an emergency is running out of coffee. But for the City Commission, it's approving contracts for essential services on the fly.
Now, you might be thinking, emergency. But in city government, it's less about a sudden crisis and more about needing to act fast on a contract or opportunity before the next meeting. Still, it raises questions about transparency.
Makes sense. But it wasn't all budget approvals and tech snafus. These minutes also gave us a front row seat to something we don't always see in local politics, the voices of everyday residents.
And that's where it gets really interesting, because you start to see how these abstract policy discussions directly impact people's lives. Each meeting had dedicated public comment periods, and people came ready to talk.
They sure did. We heard from concerned citizens like Mark Sanders, who was worried about how new developments might impact the school district's budget. For those unfamiliar, the tax base is that pool of money the city gets from property taxes, essential for funding everything from schools to street repairs.
And then there was Diana Daniels, who spoke passionately about traffic safety, especially reckless driving. Her concerns highlight how even seemingly local issues can reflect broader anxieties and debates happening across the nation.
And it wasn't just about potholes and property taxes either. People got real about bigger issues facing Springfield, things like immigration, how the city should grow, and if it's changing too fast.
These conversations show how national dialogues play out at the local level, with real people grappling with the consequences.
A perfect example of that is the Sycamore Ridge development, a proposed 220-home project that sparked quite the debate.
This wasn't just about building houses, it was about competing visions for Springfield's future.
Exactly. You had Dr. Estrop, a big proponent of growth, arguing that new residents mean a bigger tax base, more money for the city to work with. Then you have Mark Sander, representing the school district, worried about whether they have the resources for a sudden influx of new students. And finally, Mr. Rue reminded everyone that Springfield's competing with other cities to attract residents and businesses, and tax incentives are a tool in that competition.
The Sycamore Ridge debate perfectly illustrates how local decisions can have huge ripple effects.
Speaking of ripple effects, Eric Klein brought up something that, at first glance, might seem unrelated: railroad track maintenance. But, as I learned from our expert here, it's all connected.
You know, this highlights a common dilemma in cities. The lines between public and private responsibility get blurry. It reminds you to ask who should maintain what, and how do those costs get factored into development decisions?
That's a great question. And it seems like we might find some answers by digging a little deeper into Springfield's past.
So to answer your question about Springfield's past, it's full of booms and busts, just like many Midwestern cities.
Okay.
For example, in the early to mid-20th century, industrial growth led to a surge in population and housing demand.
Sounds familiar. Big
Yeah.
factories, new jobs, everyone needing a place to live. History does seem to be rhyming, doesn't it? Same fundamental tensions, just in a new era for Springfield.
Exactly. And back then, just like today, those changes brought both progress and growing pains.
Mhm.
Debates about infrastructure, public services, how to accommodate a changing population, they were all happening then too.
So are tax incentives like the ones proposed for Sycamore Ridge the only way to manage this growth? What other tools are in the toolbox?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Yeah.
One alternative is investing in public infrastructure. Think schools, parks, public transportation, high-speed internet.
Right.
Basically making the city a more attractive place to live and work, naturally drawing in residents and businesses.
So instead of offering tax breaks, you're creating a desirable environment that attracts people organically.
Great, precisely. It's about quality of life and economic opportunity working hand in hand.
Yeah.
And it addresses those concerns we heard from residents: safe streets, good schools, a thriving downtown.
Yeah.
It builds community pride, which itself can be a powerful engine for growth.
And it sounds like that resonates with residents more than just trying to lure in big corporations. What about supporting those homegrown businesses, like our yoga-loving entrepreneurs over at Femme Yogipreneur? Absolutely. Fostering entrepreneurship and supporting local businesses can lead to more sustainable and equitable growth. Think providing capital for startups, creating business incubators, and streamlining regulations.
It's like planting seeds and nurturing their growth, rather than just hoping a big tree will decide to take root.
Right.
But shifting gears back to population growth, specifically immigration that sparked some strong opinions in the meeting minutes.
Yeah.
How can a city like Springfield navigate those complexities and ensure everyone feels heard, especially during rapid change?
It's a challenge facing communities nationwide, and there's no easy answer.
Right.
What's essential is fostering respectful dialogue based on facts and a genuine effort to find common ground. Easier said than done, of course, especially when people feel unheard. City leaders need to be proactive in engaging with residents, building trust, and creating opportunities for meaningful dialogue. And it goes beyond just talking.
Correct.
Ensuring equitable access to essential services like education, healthcare, and housing, regardless of immigration status, is critical.
That came up a lot in the minutes.
Yeah.
Concerns about overcrowded schools, strain on health care, and whether new residents contribute their fair share.
These are valid concerns that need to be addressed thoughtfully and compassionately. Recognizing that diversity, when embraced and supported, can be a source of strength is key.
And that brings us to something you mentioned earlier, demographics. How do Springfield's local trends reflect the bigger picture?
Springfield isn't unique in experiencing demographic shifts. Across the U.S., cities are becoming more diverse due to immigration, internal migration, and a declining birth rate among certain populations.
So it's not just about more people, it's about a different mix of people, each with their own needs and contributions.
Exactly. And this diversification has major implications.
Yeah.
For example, a growing immigrant population might lead to a demand for English language services or culturally competent healthcare, which, if you recall, directly echoes Krista Ziegenbusch's concerns from the June 4th meeting.
Wow, it's like those meeting minutes offered a glimpse into the future, and residents were already voicing these concerns.
That's the power of listening to community voices. By understanding these trends, cities can anticipate needs, allocate resources effectively, and create a more inclusive environment for everyone.
It's mind-blowing to think that seemingly small decisions, like approving a new subdivision or upgrading streetlights, are actually playing out against this massive backdrop of national, even global trends. It really puts things into perspective, doesn't it? It's like those think globally, act locally, bumper stickers suddenly make sense. We're seeing global trends play out right here in Springfield.
And that's the beauty of local government. It's where those big ideas translate into concrete actions that directly impact people's lives. It's where the rubber meets the road.
Speaking of roads, remember Eric Klein's concern about the railroad tracks? It seemed like a small detail, but it made me realize how interconnected everything is.
Absolutely. The railroad tracks might be privately owned, but their condition affects the surrounding neighborhoods, traffic flow, even economic development. It highlights those blurred lines between public and private responsibility.
It's like that saying, no man is an island. Except in this case, it's no city department is an island. To get things done, everyone needs to work together.
Precisely. Effective city management requires collaboration, communication, and a holistic view of how all the pieces fit together.
Which, now that I think about it, is a lot like what we're doing here on the deep dive. We're taking these seemingly random pieces of information, meeting minutes, budget reports, historical context, demographics, and showing how they all connect to tell a bigger story.
We're trying to empower you, the listener, to engage more deeply with your community, to ask questions, understand the why behind decisions, and ultimately have a voice in shaping Springfield's future.
Because at the end of the day, it's your city, right?
Exactly. These meeting minutes, for all their bureaucratic language, are actually a testament to that. They remind us that local government isn't some distant entity. It's a reflection of the people it serves, their hopes, concerns, and visions for the future.
So to our listener, as you go about your day, walking those sidewalks, driving those roads, maybe even enjoying a yoga class at Femme Yogipreneur,
Yeah.
remember those meeting minutes offered a glimpse into how those things came to be. And if you see something that needs fixing or have an idea for making your city even better, don't be afraid to speak up. Attend a city commission meeting. Talk to your local representatives.
Because your voice matters. Every concern voiced, every question asked, every idea shared helps shape the Springfield of tomorrow.
You've been listening to The Deep Dive. Until next time, keep asking questions and dive deep into the world around you.